I'm Corinita with Illexotic, and this is Mental Health Monday. What's good, fam? Welcome to Mental Health Monday. This week, we are talking about triggers. We're going to be going over what is a trigger, why they should be taken seriously, the stigma surrounding triggers, how to support someone else who has triggers, and how to support yourself if you have triggers. So let's dive in. What is a trigger? A trigger is something that sets off a memory or transports the person back to the event of their original trauma. So usually when people think about triggers, they think about PTSD, but it also can be related to things like anxiety, substance use, and other mental health related things. Basically, a trigger puts you into a state that can make coping difficult, and it's just difficult to deal with. Triggers are difficult and distressing, and they should be taken very seriously. A trigger can be related to any of the five senses. If you smell something, it can be a trigger. If you get a certain sensation in your body, hearing certain sounds or phrases, a taste could set off a trigger, and seeing certain things can set off triggers. So why should this be taken seriously? Sometimes it can be hard for people to understand what it is like to be triggered if they have never dealt with that sort of thing before. For me, drinking in certain places can set me off. And so it's not necessarily something that everybody would piece together, obviously seeing something horrific happen in front of you, such as, a dog getting hit by a car, is going to make most people feel very uncomfortable. But in general, triggers are more individualized per person. And so something that might not seem like a big deal to you could be a big deal to somebody else. If somebody deals with triggers, sometimes it can be difficult to even take yourself seriously. You might know that something sets you off, but because others are not taking it seriously and they make you feel like you're overreacting, you'll just say, "Oh, I'll just get over it," or I'm just overreacting. But the same outcome is going to happen whether you feel like you're overreacting or not. If you get triggered, you might have trouble controlling the way you react, and that's why it's important to take it seriously. If somebody communicates to you that they have a trigger, it is important to take it seriously, because if you ignore it, it is a violation of trust and respect. It can cause more damage on a short or long term, which will only make the trauma more intense. And overall, it's just mean and rude and insensitive to not take it into account. Usually, dealing with triggers and avoiding them, if you know about them, is pretty simple to do. And it's something that we can do to support our friends, our family, our loved ones who are open about that with us. It's important to remember that if somebody has a trigger, it's not a choice. It means that they've been through something in their life that has been really difficult. So if you care about somebody, you should support them through that. Let's talk about stigma and triggers. As someone who has been diagnosed with PTSD in the past, honestly, I hate seeing the way the word triggered is used online. People just throw it around in exchange for the word of offended. And it is not the same as being offended. When I'm online, I see the word triggered used as a way to allude to somebody being weak, being offended, being easily hurt. And often I've seen it related with certain party affiliations or sexual identities. When you get down to the matter of it, anyone can have triggers regardless of party affiliation, gender, sexual orientation, religion, where they live, anything. None of that really matters. It can happen to anybody. So using the phrase triggered is not really appropriate to use as a joke. It hurts a lot of people, and not just the people that you're hoping to hurt. It probably hurts people who are your friends, who are your family, who don't talk openly about their mental health with you because you've made it pretty clear that you're not a safe person to talk to about those things. Because triggered gets used in this way, it can be difficult for those of us who have PTSD, anxiety, mental health, getting past substance use. It can be difficult for someone to be open about triggers because they don't want to feel embarrassed or like they're being weak or easily offended. I know that probably a lot of people that use the word this way aren't intentionally trying to make people with mental health struggles be more stigmatized. So how can we support others who have triggers? Especially if you have never experienced dealing with triggers, you might feel a little confused or like you just don't understand. So first off, what you can do is you can take it seriously. If someone decides to share their triggers with you, then it's important for you to take it seriously. Even if it might seem silly or weird, it's important to remember that triggers means that someone has been through something very difficult and have gotten to the other side and have started their healing process. So we want to support people in their endeavors. If you know that one of their triggers will be involved in an activity that you're planning, in a movie or anything like that, let them know ahead of time. And when you let them know, make sure that you're supportive of them making their own decision. Maybe they just want to skip out, and that's okay. Maybe they want to see if they can handle it, and that's also okay. It's best to be supportive and let others make the decisions for themselves. Keep in mind that if someone decides to go ahead and try it anyways, whatever the activity or movie or whatever it might be, they still can change their mind and go ahead and leave or whatnot. And if you know this person well enough to have seen what they're like when they are triggered and you start to see those signs pop up, check in with them. Just make sure they're okay. If you have triggers, this can be very difficult. I myself do have triggers. Like I said, I've been diagnosed with PTSD, and I've been in situations like at shows or bars and stuff, and I get triggered into a dissociative state. And it's really difficult to deal with. Luckily, I've had a lot of really great support in my life, but not everyone has that. So I'll share with you how I support myself and hopefully give you some tips in supporting yourself. So first of all, be open with people. If you know a little bit about your triggers, maybe let some trusted friends know about it or talk about it with your significant other, trusted family members. That is perfectly okay. And don't be ashamed. Things that I read on the internet or what I hear people say in casual conversation or on TV or whatever sometimes makes me feel some type of way, like there's something wrong with me or like I'm being weak. I'm not pushing myself enough. But you shouldn't feel ashamed because you have triggers. Like I said, having a trigger probably means that you've been through something very difficult and you've gotten through it or are getting through it and you are healing yourself. And that is very admirable. And I think it's a great endeavor and you should feel proud of yourself. If you don't have people around you who you can talk to openly about your mental health and other things, I would honestly highly suggest try seeking out some new friends or new circles, because the people in your life should be supportive of you. And that's like the least you can ask of the people around you. So if you don't have anyone you can talk to, try branching out and meeting some new people. You can find new people at support groups, online. Try to make new connections. Sometimes we just have to deal with the fact that there are people in our lives who will never understand, and that's okay. Whether it be certain friends, your family, coworkers, whoever, that is going to happen now and then. What's best to do is to make boundaries. You don't have to tell everyone about everything, and you certainly don't have to rely on others who are going to put you down or make you feel bad about your experience. If you have triggers, make sure to practice grounding even when you're not feeling triggered, especially when you're not feeling triggered. Whether this be meditation, mindfulness exercises, there's a lot of great grounding exercises you can find online. Not everything works for everyone, but more than likely you'll find something that can work for you. And then practice it when you don't need it, so that when you do need it, it comes more naturally. Have someone or a list of people that can support you. Sometimes when I'm having a really low mental health day that turns into a week, that turns into a month, that turns into months, it's important for me to know which friends I can call on that will come over and hang out with me and help me to clean up my room or make sure I'm eating food and other things like that, because sometimes I'm just not capable of taking care of those things when I'm trying to take care of my mental health. And some people might make you feel bad about this or laugh at you. Ignore them. It's not important. Focus on the people who want to support you, who are there to support you, and let them support you. And when you're feeling at your best, be there to support them too, because everybody needs support sometimes. Be honest with yourself. Make sure you know how to recognize the signs of you being triggered, because I'll be honest, sometimes I ignore it. I'm like, oh, that's weird. I can't concentrate today. Oh, that's weird. I haven't eaten all day. And it's like, oh, this thing really upset me earlier and I completely ignored it. What I would suggest is to make a WRAP plan, a wellness recovery action plan, and you can write down all the ways that you can recognize when you're not feeling your best, or when you're being triggered, or when there is something that will trigger you, and write it down, because sometimes writing it down can help you to process it so you don't forget or ignore it. And so you can be open and honest with yourself. And like I said, make sure that you're utilizing any and all resources that you can find. Things like DBT, support groups, peer support, and peer support groups and organizations, therapy, medication if you would like to try it, peer respites. All of these things, including what I've mentioned in the video about, supportive people, are all pieces of the puzzle which make up your wellness and taking care of yourself, even regarding triggers. Whether your triggers are involved with PTSD, anxiety, drug use, there are ways to support yourself and to allow others to support you. And no matter what, it's never a one-size-fits-all solution. You're going to have to do a lot of trial and error. But with work, I'll bet that you'll find it to become more manageable when you start to find the things that work for you. So that's all for today. Today we talked about triggers, what they are, why we should take them seriously, how to support others with triggers, and how to support ourselves if we have triggers. If you have any comments or questions, leave it down there below. If you thought this video was helpful, like, subscribe, and keep coming back for more Mental Health Monday. We also have Motivational Monday with Josh, and we have Song React Sunday every Sunday right here on our YouTube channel. So have a great week, and love you.